Hello and welcome back to Empyrion Galactic Survival. My name is Spanj and today we're talking about the upcoming release Alpha 12 for Empyrion Galactic Survival and what we know so far. So if you missed the live stream from last week with Elion Game Studios themselves, with the community manager Hummel War and Talon, then I'll link it down below. It is 3 and a bit hours long, so it's a lot to go through, but there's a lot of really good information in there. Anyway, I've tried to summarize a lot of that information into this video. So the first question you're probably asking is, when is Alpha 12 scheduled to come out? Well, it is a work in progress. It's not exactly clear at the moment, but when pushing the devs, I managed to get...
I'd say really roughly, maybe the experimental might hit end of March or early April.
So probably early April, maybe late March, but let's err on the side of caution and go with April. It is the earliest possible opportunity that we're going to be able to see Alpha 12 in the experimental branch. And bearing in mind, when a build comes out to experimental, there's usually 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 extra experimental releases on top of that as they release more and more features slowly and also measure the response, the feedback, fix the bugs, etc. before it then goes out to the live. One of the main flagship features of Alpha 12 is a whole new solar systems and galaxies. In fact, Talon has been teasing this in the official Discord Alpha Teasers channel. You can see the pictures up on screen now. There are thousands and thousands of suns.
The default game will have around 10,000 or 20,000 solar systems. And we managed to create a very high number in I think 1.5 million suns.
Another big focus of Alpha 12 is the updates to POIs, because they can now mount player weapons on them, and they work. They no longer require ammunition when they're mounted on a POI.
The player turrets now work with alien POI.
So if, like me, you've always laughed maniacally when you've seen player turrets on a POI knowing full well that they can't fire, well, not so much anymore. They will now shoot back. So watch out for those flak turrets, missile turrets, and of course those artillery turrets, because they will be taking your ship apart very soon. On top of that, POIs can now call for reinforcements. This is in particular for space POIs, and they can actually call for a lot of reinforcements if the scenario designer or server admin actually makes it so.
Now the POI will call for reinforcements. This is a bit dependent on the level of the playfield, and the response will also be tied to this. So it can be one wave with weak vessels, or it could be 3 waves that beat the hell out of you.
Are we talking vessels, or are we talking drones?
No, vessels. It's actually these voxel vessels.
Actual
we could
CVs.
Also use drones. It's both is possible. This is also something that would be configurable for the scenario creators. Wow. It's not fixed really.
So you could have an armada turn up.
Yeah, if you set the costs for each wave accordingly, basically yes.
Turret groups are going to be removed. So where you've got artillery turrets or projectile turrets or rocket turrets, it's now just going to be turrets, and you can actually have as many of any particular type of turret as you like. Turret limits eventually will be completely removed and just managed by CPU, of course.
Think of a way to move this to a more global limit, so say you can have this amount of turrets, and you do not need to split up between the types of turrets. At least this is something the devs think about at the moment.
Stack sizes are also being reworked, so some items, depending on their size and volume, can now stack up to 4,000 per stack. But all items are being reviewed and their stack sizes as well. For me, I'm most excited about the water being stackable up to much larger numbers.
And while we're at it, we have increased the stack size of nearly all the items.
Is water included in that, the water containers?
Yes.
Another flagship feature is the NPCs are going to be interactable, and this is again something that scenario creators, server admins will have to customize, but obviously the developers will be putting this into the base game in certain places as well. NPCs are going to work like NPCs from classic RPG games. You're going to be able to interact with them just by hitting F or E or whatever the key is, and they're going to be able to give you quests, missions perhaps, or mini games, sell you stuff as they currently do, and so on and so forth. Is that coming in Alpha 12, or are we looking at Alpha 13? That's Alpha 12. And the NPC interaction, is that to a basic level, I assume, in Alpha 12?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So what about CPU and this flight model that's been causing so much controversy recently? Well, Eleon are making huge changes to that as well. CPU costs for HV, SV, RCSs are going to be greatly reduced.
Of course, we'll globally improve the flight model. There are a few issues still with drag and lift and the new flight model itself, which will be ironed out next. We will reduce the CPU cost for the RCS, for SV and HV considerably, so they will be more usable for the small vessels again.
So this is going to help builders who are currently having to adhere to the flight model's physics and restrictions for low-tier vessels. You can now override the flight model to a degree with these now cheaper RCSs. Thruster CPU cost is also being reworked, so larger thrusters are more cost-effective in CPU.
They will have benefits. So if you put two thrusters of the same time, the same spot, the larger thruster of the same block size will cost less CPU. So this is not linear.
Perfect. And, so you end up using ultimately less thrusters because the larger ones have more benefit, although they are more expensive to manufacture, I think, aren't they? So, but there's a progression curve there. That's
and a kind of incentive to also use it.
But perhaps biggest of all, that you're going to be able to actually adjust the torque of your vessel using sliders in the control panel. So you can adjust the torque that RCSs and thrusters are giving per axis.
You can set your vessel's torque per axis. So you have 3 sliders. You can set your torque individually. So this is already in. This is currently in the last testing phase.
And we all know that if we go over our CPU limits on our ships, that we start incurring punishment, basically. The efficiency goes down and the ship becomes less effective. Well, Eleon are going to change it so that if you're under CPU, you actually get buffs. So if you're at, 80% of your CPU allocation, you get 120% efficiency or something like that. It's not clear yet what those buffs will involve, but it's a nice addition. It's another incentive to keep those builds under the CPU limits.
Currently, it's like when you hit a CPU tier and you overshoot it, you're penalized.
Yeah.
But we will do also something on the opposite. So if you unlock a CPU tier, you will get a few buffs like faster shield reload or something similar. So we'd like to add real achievements to these tiers. You have a little benefit from it. And the last topic would then be that currently you are capped by tier 4, like for CV it's 10 million or so. We do not know how this will be exactly done, but we will allow to go beyond this tier 4 in a game which is under CPU active. So we will be able to increase your CPU count beyond this 10 million, for example, for CV. So you can stuff in more stuff when you play under CPU without being penalized. We do not, as I said, probably with adding more extenders gradually, or maybe with a new tier, but possibly more the extenders route. So this would be the third change on CPU. This is coming, which is confirmed, I think, for Alpha 12 already.
So either you can, at tier 4, you can just keep adding extenders to increase your CPU, or there'll be a tier 5. Yeah. Radars in space were also teased for Alpha 12. Oh, it's possible, but it's not guaranteed at this stage. We need a scanner in space.
Yeah, or radar also.
Alpha 12, yeah?
If we can make it, yes, possibly.
There is some bad news, though, unfortunately. We still do not have crouch in Alpha 12, but there is a good reason for that. Can we crouch in Alpha 12?
I'm afraid not.
Come on.
This all I know you asked this when we talked about it. Yeah, we could. Let me put it like this: the player controller would offering crouching but the collision would make it nonsense because you could not hide behind a medium-high wall.
Because of the hitbox would stay the same.
Yes, the hitbox.
So you could crouch behind cover and still get headshot. Also, for anybody hoping for the game to have destruction physics at any point, that was ruled out in this live stream. Destruction
physics, like you see in Space Engineers, so fractal destruction. I think we will not have this. This is a different engine, or this needs a different engine approach.
Personally, I'm actually quite happy about that. I think destruction physics in this game would just be a giant pain in the butt, especially considering how many times I crash my SV into the ground. Another piece of bad news was that there's still going to be no logistic link between placeable items like water generators and auto miners directly into the logistics system. So manually dragging those items into the connected toolbar and then into your box is still going to be the only way to move large amounts of stuff from those placeables. However, there was talk of those placeables getting base device equivalents. So a water generator would be a block on a base, and providing that that base was sitting somewhere or connected to a body of water, it would have water generation capacity. And the same for ore and auto miners. An auto miner device on a base, you could sit over a deposit and mine the deposit through the base directly into your storage. One of the real quality of life, and I've spoken to you about this I think before, is getting those placeables, those auto miners, those water generators added to the logistics. Are we going to see that in Alpha 12?
No, not in Alpha 12. For players that advance beyond this, terrain placeables add some stuff as base items, like moisture collectors or some stuff you can use on a base blockers. This would be, I think this is closer than adding the remote entities to the logistic network.
Not confirmed for Alpha 12, but the idea is being worked on and hopefully we'll see that soon. In other news from the live stream is that the developers are actually looking for new factions to add to the game as a sort of matter of course. For example, Jay Randall's Creel stuff from the workshop would and quite possibly could make it as a faction in the game. It has a consistent design, a backstory, a theme, and an agenda within a universe. So if you have a faction that you want to submit to the game, it must have a consistent design, design theme, color scheme. They must also have a backstory. Who are they? Why are they there? What's their agenda in the greater universe? Are they miners? Are they traders? Are they an aggressive empire? Are they pacifists technologically? Are they so on and so forth? But if you've built a series of capital vessels and bases, POIs for all intents and purposes, in that theme, with that backstory, head over to the forums and submit them in the appropriate thread, and they might be considered as part of the game.
By designing this, we can say, if you want to contribute to this faction, you can make you can get your idea from these examples and send us stuff in. Though I think we will also use this old-fashioned way of acquiring more POI stuff in the meantime, I think.
So can he just submit an NPC faction if he provides designs, POIs, backstory?
Yes. Sure.
And they
get in touch with me, and I'll gladly review. So what the requirements are that it should be a distinctive design, and you need to have at least a bit of a backstory. And maybe ideally it fits a bit in the tonality of what's going on the Syrax Empire and the game in general. So, but yes, of course, yes.
Well, that's pretty much the highlights of Alpha 12. Hopefully, like I said, coming out in April or thereabouts. Link down below also to the full live stream, because we covered a lot more stuff, a lot more questions from the community as well. And if you want to know more, that's the place to go. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this video useful, insightful, and if not, a bit entertaining as well. And hopefully, I'll see you next time. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.